El futuro tiene nada más que la confrontación.
Hey, welcome to Unpopular Opinion. I'm your host, Adam Todd Brown. I used to write a bunch of weekly columns for a bunch of internet places, and I would use those columns to put forth all sorts of crazy opinions. Then, I would come on this show to defend those opinions. But now, I don't do much of anything at all. Joining me today, she is a fantastic comedian who you've probably heard on the show before, depending on how long you've been listening. I haven't had her on for a while because I'm not that good at booking this show. She also edits videos professionally with her fancy college degree. Ladies and gentlemen, Elise Golgowski, also joining me. Speaking of fancy college degrees, this guy just got one, and now he's planning your city as we speak. He's also the frontman of a fantastic rock band called Countless Thousands, and they're working on a new album, so that's exciting. Ladies and gentlemen, we're always happy to have him here, Danger Van Gorder. It's going to be a great show. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Unpopular Opinion. I'm your host, Adam Todd Brown. Joining me as co-host this week, my favorite co-host of all, no co-host. But Jeff will be back like next week or in a future week. Till then, I got a room full of guests, as usual. Case in point, returning champion has not been here for, I think, about 6 or 7 years. Elise Golgowski.
Yes. Hi.
I am bad at varying up the bookings on this podcast.
Yeah, it's all good. I responded to the email and then I never heard. So I was like, oh, I guess maybe he just doesn't like me.
Yeah,
my opinions were too popular. But well, it's good to be back.
Tell people where they can find you and what kind of stuff you do.
Yeah, so I'm a comedian. I'm also a video editor. And you can find me on Instagram at the Big Golgowski. I'm also there on Twitter too with my hot tweets at the Big Golgowski. So you can find me there. I'm on TikTok at Eliski, but please don't look at my TikTok. It's very cringy. And I don't want anyone I know seeing me go live to talk to teenagers. So. Oh man, maybe that puts me in some hot water right there. It's like, what are you telling these teenagers?
Yeah, speaking of people I don't want going live to talk to teenagers, Danger Van Gorder's here.
Hell? What? What introduction was that?
That was fun. Danger, you can do your plugs at the end. Everyone knows.
Sure. Hi, guys.
Everyone knows where to find you.
Yeah, I'm the primary beneficiary of you bringing on the same people too many times and too often. So I love it.
We're doing another Unpopular Opinions episode, which you'd think we would do that all the time, given the name of the podcast. But no, not really. We do these pretty infrequently, but we just did one a couple weeks ago. And I had a leftover opinion that I feel like is a bit of a barn burner that I still wanted to bring. So we're doing another one of these episodes. What should we start with? Should we start with one of mine? Should we start with the I teased this at the end of the last Unpopular Opinions episode. I warned America they were never going to hear my thoughts on Jon Stewart. And now here we are. I guess, should we talk about Jon Stewart?
Yeah,
get into it, baby.
I love Jon Stewart.
Here's the thing. I don't hate Jon Stewart. I don't dislike Jon Stewart. I think Jon Stewart's heart is in the right place. He's funny. He's very talented. I just think, albeit in a different way than Fox News, Jon Stewart was kind of bad for America during the Bush years. One of my problems with Jon Stewart, though, here's the thing. I get that laughter helps us cope with things and helps us deal with stressful situations. But I also feel like there was a stretch there in the 2000s where people on the left, Democrats, whatever term you want to use, were kind of just getting their news and information from Jon Stewart. And it set us up kind of for Trump in that our only reaction to absolute evil coming from the right, like legitimate, if we're talking George Bush, legitimate war crimes, our go-to response in every situation is jokes and comedy. And the problem is, over the years, this shit has got less and less funny. So to keep that Republican politics, our comedy fodder machine going, you just have to focus on inconsequential bullshit, like people slipping up their words in a Fox News interview, instead of the actual atrocities that have been happening since 2000. The Daily Show became political at the right time. It wasn't a political show when Craig Kilborn was hosting it. That was the right time for it. And I don't think Jon Stewart had any ill intent. And I don't think it was all bad. Like, obviously someone needed to be talking about Bush, and during wartime, the mainstream media really isn't going to. And that was all wartime.
Yeah.
Under Bush.
In the absence of fairness doctrine, when there's a ton of money to be made from parroting disgusting right-wing talking points on conservative media, we needed something else to be like, okay, I don't want to listen to fucking Fox News, and the daily news stuff is basically full of crap. But we need something, some apparatus somewhere to call people out. And, you know, if the center, left, whatever, I tend to think that Jon Stewart is much more centrist than leftist. And that show skewed towards the middle, because it was always about, like, you know what, at the end of the day, we got to take turns. And, you know, there was that rally to keep fear alive, and that sort of big political event that they did. And the main point they made was sometimes you have to let them go so that you can go. And that, like, that we have this beautiful, like, sort of like the bridge, and like all these traffic cars got to go, even though we're all going the same way, but sometimes other people have to go first, which I think coddled a lot of Americans into thinking that, like, we just need to wait out the worst impulses of the people on the right, because eventually they'll come to their senses. And, like, it took a long time to realize that no, like, fucking a clown got himself elected to the highest office in the land. People are no longer willing to be reasonable and play to that sort of, when they go low, we go high kind of thing. And yeah, and that same instinct of, like, Bush would say something terrible and then it would just cut to Jon Stewart and go, like, really? And that was, like, the whole of the counter argument. You know, it's like, okay, it's stupid. It's hypocritical. These people are evil, but, like, just sort of, like, you know, the goofs and the gags really weren't enough. And it convinced a lot of people to sit down and myself included. You know, I loved The Daily Show. I loved Colbert. It was worth me tuning in because it was literally one of two outlets that served people of our ilk that was in any way mainstream at the time.
Yeah, but I feel like when Jon Stewart was really popular, people started joking about him running for president or whatever. And then they made that movie with Robin Williams about a political, like, basically he's a Jon Stewart figure running for president and then winning. And I feel like that kind of, I don't know, it made it seem like, oh, this is what people want to see. People don't really want somebody who's there to change it. They just want a clown, a goof. And, like, I mean, I'll be honest, when I watched the Republican debates when Trump was running, that's the only time I've ever watched them, just because I liked watching Trump, like, roast all his opponents on stage and stuff. That idea of making fun of the news and people kind of needing that as an escapist, because that's kind of like what Fox News is. It's not really news, it's more entertainment of look at the left, aren't they stupid? So I can see your point.
24 hours a day. Daily Show was a half hour, and that's all we got.
Yeah. So I kind of see Adam's point, and Jon Stewart kind of getting the ball rolling with that, with people seeing, like, oh, people like this. They like this more than the actual news. Let's run with it. And you just have to dance and people will like you. So just keep on doing that. And so, yeah, maybe that's how we got Trump.
The way Jon Stewart set us up for Trump is the thing you saw, like, the most infuriating example to me, the one I will never get out of my head or forgive, was Stephen Colbert interviewing John Oliver when Trump was running for president. And Stephen Colbert asked John Oliver if he was at all concerned about the prospect of Trump winning. And John Oliver could not have laughed harder. Like, he acted like that was just hands down the funniest thing he'd ever heard. And that response just radiated out throughout Democrats. And no one took Trump seriously. And he got elected. And I feel like we froze in that moment. For one thing, Jon Stewart left. Like, Trump announced his presidency or his campaign, and Jon Stewart was like, yeah, this feels like the right time. to get out of here. America's in a good place. We had a black president for 8 years. Things are fixed. And then I feel like when Trump ran for office, we didn't know how to react beyond, this is funny. This is so funny that Republicans would run this guy. And it wasn't, and it never was. And it's just gotten scarier and scarier since. And we still, like, we'll throw a protest or two, but beyond that, most of the media response to the things the right is doing is still just kind of comedy. Also, I feel like Jon Stewart kind of paved the way for Joe Rogan in that Jon Stewart's whole defense for what he was doing on The Daily Show was, I'm a comedian. I'm not a journalist. I don't have to be beholden to journalistic standards. And well, okay, now it's 2K22 and Joe Rogan's not a journalist either. And he's being consulted by NFL quarterbacks about how to fix their COVID.
The thing with Jon Stewart saying, well, I'm not a thing, so I don't have to play to the standard. That's kind of what Trump's appeal was to the common person, was like, oh, well, he ain't a politician, so that's why I like him. He doesn't have to play by the rules.
In fairness, too, like, all of the media was doing the same thing as Jon Stewart, just not as effectively. They were all saying, look at this jackass and the things that he's saying, and look at how many people he's upsetting by saying it. And that was like just amplifying this asshole's message over and over, rather than like critiquing in any particular way. Or, I mean, look, it was the Republican national campaign. They were always going to bring somebody on board that was not going to be amenable to the greater amount of the American people.
But it was more than that, because it happened to me because if you recall, I said really early on this podcast that Trump was going to win. And I said that in 2015.
Yeah, I was on that episode and I said, dude, the RNC hates this guy. That will never happen. And yeah, no, the RNC did hate that guy until he started helping them win all these elections.
But the reason I bring that up isn't like to brag about it, but
you should.
Like, I spent a year doing podcasts, like drilling down on that point, like, and getting called crazy for it, getting called a conspiracy theorist for it. The mainstream media did that to people too. There's a really famous clip. I think it was Keith Ellison was on a talk show, like one of the, like Morning Joe or some shit like that. And he was like, look, Trump could win. And the room just exploded in laughter. Instead of being like, interesting, why do you say that, person who is actually in politics and has been for decades? Please explain to me, television host, why you think Trump could win. That's the appropriate response. But instead, the response Keith Ellison got was, everybody laughs.
These are people that are never going to be personally affected by policy decisions made by powerful people. And again, like, at that point, I was like, fuck Trump. He's an asshole. Who likes this guy? What God-fearing Christian father is going to be like, yeah, I'm going to vote for the guy that I wouldn't let in a room alone with my daughter? Sure. Eventually, there's lots of God-fearing American fathers who are like, yes, this is our guy. He's going to preserve decency and the American Republic from whatever. So much cognitive dissonance there.
All right, who wants to go next? Since we just talked about a straight white male, let's take down another one while we're at it. Elise, do you want to talk about Seth Rogen?
Yeah, so I hate Seth Rogen. I don't think he's funny. I don't think he's attractive. I think all his movies are trash. No, because like my sister's like, I think he's so cute. I'm like, you are disgusting. This is why your marriage failed. Like, I'm very passionate about this.
Danger, why do you love Seth Rogen? Because I will just say right out of the gate, I am firmly in the middle on this. Seth Rogen has done some things I enjoy.
He rapes women in his movies, and he's like, I'm Seth Rogen.
It's a pretty good impression of it.
Haunts my dreams.
What movie are you referring?
Knocked Up, and then also the one where he's a mall cop, and Anna Faris, she's drunk. He's like, I really shouldn't be doing this, and she's like, keep going, and he's like, oh, see, it's not really rape.
Yeah, that's Observe and Report. I don't care. Okay, the resident Seth Rogen defender in this particular room, I don't like Observe and Report.
I also Pineapple Express, his high school girlfriend, that plot line, that was disgusting. It was just him be like, I'm Seth Rogen and I should date a 16-year-old girl because it's funny. Like, no.
Your Seth Rogen is spot on.
Remarkably canny.
It's like he's actually here.
It really is.
Is he in the crowd behind you?
Yeah, he's somewhere right here.
All right, so yeah, guys, as the defender, I am most a fan of, let's say, Superbad and The Interview. I think The Interview is a terrific movie. I mean, his school of it, yeah, if you don't like his humor, then you're not going to like his acting either, because his whole theory of acting is just to say how he feels. It's like, I'm so scared. I'm so scared. Like,
yeah, I'm scared. I'm scared right now. I think I should stick this up my ass. What do you guys think? I think I should stick this up my ass.
Well, in that particular scene, he's trying not to shove the thing up his ass.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
All right, apology accepted.
But wouldn't it be funny if I had to stick this up my ass, even though I didn't want to? Wouldn't it be funny if I anally raped myself? He just really likes rape. He thinks rape is funny, and he likes underage women.
Okay, you got the one project so far with consent issues. You've got another project you mentioned, Knocked Up, where there was a miscommunication, which is it didn't put on, which she didn't put on the condom at the time. I don't know. It's been like a long time since I watched it.
Yeah, that's the thing. She's like, "Where's the condom?" And he's like, "Oh, I didn't wear one because you just said put it in." Oh, it's miscommunication. Huh? How convenient. Yeah, tell that to a fucking judge.
Sure. Okay. Well, I mean, they could have gone to the judge with that particular conversation and then not. I don't know. But like, look, I like The Interview. When I think about The Interview, I also think about Inglourious Basterds. That sort of power fantasy of like, I fucking hate this horrible human being, this fascist dictator. Like seeing Hitler machine gun into oblivion in Inglourious Basterds is awesome. Seeing Kim Jong-un blown up with a tank shell to Katy Perry is funny and cathartic, and it is good. And I like the idea that our problems can be solved with the machine gun or an explosion. It doesn't happen. Like in this world, there are no easy solutions, and I would never advocate for violence except against certain fascist dictators. You know,
the scene with all the prostitutes with he's like, "Oh, that's one thing I don't get." Or
you got to say it like Seth, dude.
No, that was no. That was him talking to James Franco. Seth Rogen wasn't in that scene, and then you see them partying with all the. Those are probably underage women, if you know North Korea. So yeah,
or James Franco.
Or James Franco. Another thing, Seth Rogen fucking okayed all of James Franco's creepy behavior.
Yeah, well, I don't know about okayed his behavior, but
he looked the other way. He was like, "Yo, he's like French.
If you've read,
he likes to rape women too, and make clay pots."
Seth Rogen's book, he was made famous for his relationship with James Franco, but in his book. Mm-hmm. He doesn't even mention James Franco by name. He's one of a very small amount of people.
I mentioned my buddy Franco.
So he's one of a small amount of people, I would say, to really substantially contribute. Like I've known people who've been problematic, and even though I still care about these people, I would care not to professionally and maybe even personally associate with them from here on out. That takes some degree of balls.
And you've never been like, "Hey, buddy, maybe can you stop raping underage?"
Well, I don't know if he was aware of these things at the time.
He was aware of them.
Are you sure?
Things happened on set. When they were filming This Is the End, there was a big thing about how fucking Hermione Granger, Emma Watson,
Emma Watson.
She refused to do a scene. She's like, "I don't think this is funny. I'm not gonna go out and be like." I forgot what scene. I think it was like she was gonna be like have something with the gimp at the end with Channing or something.
Oh, Channing Tatum. Hell yeah.
She's like, "No, I'm not doing that." And they would make inappropriate jokes around her and make her feel uncomfortable on set. And she's like, "I don't want to look. I just want to come in, do my scene, and then leave. Like, I don't want to. You want me to say these weird jokes? I don't want to partake in your sexism, misogyny, humor. Let me just be here." And,
okay. Well, I mean, her part in the movie still hinges on the fact that she thinks that they're gonna attack her, that they're gonna rape her, and she beats the shit out of one of them and says, "You're not gonna fucking rape me. Now give me that water, and I'm getting out of here." Like that is an empowered woman. So what? I don't know what happened on set. Look. Hashtag I believe women. But also for the particular like situation. having just going off of what happens in the movie, she's like, I'm not going to let this bad thing happen. And then she beats the shit out of him and leaves.
Yeah, and then think of what that scene could have been originally had she not stood up for herself and been like, you know what, fuck it.
Well, is it more or less to their credit then that they took that decision towards her own claim for human dignity?
Or is it because she is a name actress where it's like the joke of this scene hinges on the fact that you are who you are. So we need this bitch to do her lines and say these jokes. And so it's like, yeah, we're not going to force you. I've heard so many blind items and stuff like that I've seen of them basically kind of forcing unknown actresses that just want a part in a fun Seth Rogen movie or a James Franco movie. They're like, yeah, sure, okay, whatever you want. I don't feel comfortable, but I'll do this. I mean, that's how his whole fucking the lawsuit with his acting class thing that he was doing.
But Franco.
Yeah,
Franco
that's Franco
specifically.
Yeah, but Mr. Seth Rogen, he's like, yeah, I know about this, but I'm just gonna sit here and make my clay pots for Twitter.
Which one of them's making the clay pots?
I think Seth Rogen made clay pots or something.
Yeah, he's
they're
he's
trash
a
pots, but because he's Seth Rogen and has undying fans, they're like, oh my gosh, look at
undying
these
fans. That sounds helpful.
Undying fans.
I don't want to die.
You sound like you're going to go down with the ship, Danger.
I'm just saying, I like his movies. They make me laugh.
But I don't think he's even that funny. I watched, I went to that table read that he did for the Seinfeld episodes for Netflix as a joke.
Mm-hmm.
I went on a date. If it was up to me, I wouldn't have gone. So he obviously played Jerry Seinfeld, which, how dare he? And so each episode that they did 3. It started with Jerry Seinfeld's, stand-ups thing. So it's Seth Rogen reading the scripts, doing Jerry's stand-up. And oh my God, it was so terrible. It bombed so hard. It's like, dude, you could have just watched the episode and just said it with the same cadence. But he's just like, you know what's crazy about the Hamptons? You can't bring your 14-year-old girlfriend with you. I fucking hate Pineapple Express was fun, and I don't understand why he even had that. Just so you could be like, I'm Seth Rogen, I can still pull 14-year-old pussy.
Here's the thing. I don't like that weed strain or that movie. Mm-hmm. And not even because of the girlfriend situation. I just found that movie super disappointing. You bought his book, Danger? Like hardcover?
My wife bought his book, read it, and then I read it because I also like Seth Rogen. Though apparently this is a house of pro Seth Rogen.
House of Rogen.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like a lot of guys that I've met who really love Seth Rogen and worship that sense of humor, they tend to all be assholes and they're all dicks to women.
Okay, now that I can get down with in the sense that like if that's the cornerstone of your personality, you probably suck. Mm-hmm. Like liking Pineapple Express is not a personality, but I could say that about a lot of things.
Danger, is it possible that what you're saying now might lead to your unpopular opinion that you would want to share with us?
I mean, if you're interested in turning this into a segue of sorts, I would be amenable to turning the previous topic into a new topic. You just got to let me know if that's something that you want to do.
Well, I will point out the segue is brought to you by Segway. Segway, when you need a segue. Danger, let's talk about weed.
Yeah, I don't like it. That's the end. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Because Seth Rogen hates it?
No, it's just like there's this whole culture around weed.
Yeah,
and
like Seth Rogen.
I like him. But no, it's just like there's the whole culture around weed. It's such like an inconsistent thing. Confession time. I've had about as many bad experiences with marijuana as I have had good or okay experiences. It just like there's a learning curve to this thing that was never explained to me, and like it's just not a go-to thing for me. And again, if your personality is I like weed, then you're probably not fun. You're just someone that doesn't mind being bored. But that's a whole separate thing. I just like, look, it's an important thing. It's very helpful for people who need relief from their problems. and it should not be a Schedule 1 narcotic. That's absurd. We need to expunge all the records of anybody that's ever been imprisoned by an experience with weed. But it's not for everybody, and it's not for me, is really what it boils down to.
Those are all arguments. Like I obviously smoke weed.
What?
Oh, okay. Let's talk about your fucking points, since you're being salty now. There's a learning curve to it, not with drinking though. There's no, because go ask Jeff May if there's a learning curve to drinking.
Sure.
He's gotten drunk
Yeah,
one
but at least
time.
like
He's gotten drunk one time, and he had 8 rum and cokes, Danger.
Okay.
He vomited violently. That is the definition of a learning curve. It's also the definition. Okay, how many bad experiences have you had on alcohol? And the reason I ask is because, speaking of people making it their personality, what did you do when you came on the podcast? You made sure to show us you're drinking your fancy whiskey. You said, let me refill my fancy whiskey. You made sure we heard the cork. Like, you act like there's no culture where drinking serves as a person's personality. I would say that is significantly more prevalent than people acting like weed is their personality. You still can't really buy weed shirts at Walmart, but you can buy a fucking grip of Budweiser shirts and Coors Light shirts, and my other truck is a Budweiser shirts or whatever the fuck. Like, drinking is way more a thing people attribute to having a personality when they're really just alcoholics.
I very much agree. Alcohol does real harm to our society.
More harm.
I'm sorry?
More harm. Significantly more harm.
Significantly more harm than weed has or will ever perpetrate on our society.
But at least it smells great.
I like how certain whiskeys smell. Look, yeah, and there's shit booze in the world. I'm not here to defend booze as a panacea to our ills. I enjoy it.
I was here to defend that, though.
Okay. No.
Yeah, obviously it fixes all your problems.
But I don't like anybody whose personality is, I'm gonna get shit-faced all day, every day. Like, I used to work at an ice cream store in 2002, and like every weekend, the short brunette girl and whatever the hell I'm sure all their names were like Amanda or something, but there was a bunch of them, and they always come back with like, oh my god, we got so shit-faced and we did this, we got hammered and we did this or something. Like, okay, well, you're just not an interesting person. And I'm not going to say that like booze addicts, if there's a word for it. I mean, I don't even know if there's a word for that. But like people who depend on substances to function in the world, not super on board with, if that's your personality. Okay, sorry, let me backtrack. If you need a substance to function in this world, depending on the substance, like antidepressants are a thing. People need antidepressants to function. Godspeed. Some people do. You know what? In the Seth Rogen book, he compares weed to being emotional shoes. Like, we don't criticize people for putting on shoes before they leave.
Stupidest metaphor I've ever
Okay,
heard.
well, read the rest of his book. Maybe he says it better.
No.
But like, it helps him get along with his date, and that's fine. But
yeah,
like,
his date, because she's a high schooler. So he's like,
date.
yeah, now I understand your humor.
That was the date, which is weird.
That was the date.
Seth Rogen's dating his 14-year-old
high school
female. Okay, and that was a plot point in a movie from I don't know when, and I don't even, whatever.
Point is, it didn't need to be there anyway.
Sure. So anyways, there's too many ways that you can have a bad experience with weed. Like like CBD drops were really helpful for me for a while because I had sciatica, and like a nerve pain disorder, and I was using CBD drops to sort of ease that. But I didn't look at the bottle all that closely. And there's a thing that says shake well before use. And if you don't shake well before use, then all of the goddamn CBD, like the THC settles to the bottom, so that when you take that last drop, it's a terrifying odyssey through your own mind. And I hated it. And I was not prepared for something like that. But everyone's like, oh, it's the gentlest drug there is, It
sounds like you weren't prepared because you didn't use it responsibly.
Yeah.
Sure, that's another thing.
You're using it for pain management, but you're not. Did you ask a doctor if you should use it?
That's a really.
Elise, what are your thoughts on weed? I feel like we haven't heard from you in all this segment. Jesus.
Well, to be honest, I don't like weed either, and
yes.
But honestly, it's fine if anybody else smokes weed. The thing that The thing I don't like about it though is when I'm at a party and people are smoking weed, I'll be like, "Oh, you want to smoke weed?" I'll be like, "No, I'm good." And then I get this, "Well, maybe you just haven't like found your right strain then. Maybe that's what it is." Or just take a hit. No, this is different. It's different. It's like, no, trust me. I know what weed does to me. I don't like it. And they're like, "Come on, just do it. I think it's different now. It's a different blend." And then I'll take a hit and then just sit in the corner and stare at the wall the whole party. And then they're like, "Man, I don't think she's having a fun time." It's like, no, because I told you that weed makes me more anxious and it affects me this way.
But
And
you're susceptible to peer pressure. Interesting.
Well, only if I'm trying to date the guy, but like he's gonna take me to a Seth Rogen movie.
With his previously mentioned 14-year-old girlfriend.
Yes.
Okay.
But yeah, like I don't know. It's just like sometimes I just don't like the idea of I feel like it's like this, people are making weed like this fun party, and every single time I try to go to and have fun at the party, it's like, and then they're like, "Oh, well, something's wrong with you then if this isn't working out, because weed would never do this to anybody." And I think it's like overrated whenever I'm like, "Oh, I'm kind of anxious," and people are like, "Oh, well, here, just hit this pen," and have you tried CBD? It's like, no, I don't like weed. Just stop pushing it on me. Like, I don't want to smoke it. I don't want to eat your gummies or anything.
Yeah, I mean, that's bullshit. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, like, don't push. But I feel that way. Like I feel like you do see that with alcohol too. Like I've been I've been the sober person on a party bus once. And let me tell you about peer pressure. You be the only sober person when everyone else is hammered on a fucking bus with neon lights inside it. You're going to get some peer pressure to drink in that situation too. But I also feel that way about like onions. Like people will be like, "But have you ever had onions in this one?" And it's like, no, I universally reject onions. Like, there's no circumstance. Like there's some foods people will be like, "Oh, but you got to cook it the way No, I don't. No, I don't. So I agree with you there. That's bullshit.
But I also hate that with weed people, it's always like their biggest defense is that it's not alcohol. That's their one thing. It's all like, "Oh, weed's great because it's not alcohol," and everything. All their points are like, "Well, alcohol gives you a hangover. Alcohol makes you want to fight people, and weed just makes you want to watch a Seth Rogen movie," which I feel like is worse later on.
Well, I mean, it is absolutely insane that between the two of them, alcohol is the one that's legal.
Agreed. Well, yeah, agreed.
I think that's probably why people who smoke weed tend to go that route, because alcohol is so common and no one bats an eyelash.
Well, yeah, because when they took away the farmers' whiskey, yeah, they had a riot. And you take away pot smokers' weed, and they're like, "Well, I guess I'll just watch another movie then."
No, there were like violent gang wars over it, and
over weed.
There are still people in prison over fucking weed. That's one of the big problems with weed being illegal.
Yeah, but not like starting riots with like, "Hey, no, give us back our alcohol."
Here's the thing, alcohol prohibition wasn't the worst thing for the country.
Go on.
Look into it.
Organized crime.
Yeah, that went away once prohibition went away. I'm glad we nipped that problem in the bud. Like there was always going to be organized crime, but no, I mean, I think organized crime existed before prohibition.
I don't know.
I think it helped.
Prohibition was the Jon Stewart for organized crime.
Kinda, yeah. So this has been a very interesting episode. It was very good.
Covered a lot of ground.
We sure did. We got a lot done in not a short amount of time. Thank you both for doing the episode once again.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Do we have anything to plug before we get out of here? Elise, just one more time, tell people where they can find you. Let's make Danger wait.
Yeah, you can find me at Twitter and Instagram at the Big Golgowski. Also, for legal purposes, I want to go ahead and say that I am not accusing Seth Rogen of having sex with 14-year-olds or raping them. I'm just saying it appears in his movies a lot. That's all. Just for legal purposes.
Danger, accuse Seth Rogen of all those things.
For legal purposes, I would like to offer hanging out with Seth Rogen. I would love, let's get a sandwich, you know, and just sort of shoot the shit. Sounds good. For legal purposes only.
Is that all you have to plug?
Me? Oh, okay. So
very uncharacteristic.
Sorry. Me. I got a child due in a couple of months. I can't really. I mean, she's not gonna. It's very exciting, and scary. So who knows what's gonna happen? But no, Countless Thousands, everybody. We are working on our follow-up album, Tremble. Very cool. It's gonna be a whole monster movie type romp through time and space. Please go to our Patreon, patreon.com/countlessthousands. Support us, because it's going to be very scary trying to have another newborn in the house and still produce music and whatnot. But dude, man, like with our lineup that we got right now is incredible. I'm like the guy who plays bass with me these days played in a band that I listened to in high school that like made me want to start playing music. There's a weird full circle thing happening. Yeah, our lineup is badass. The music. No, automatic setting. The music we're putting out right now is really terrific. Patreon.com/countlessthousands. I don't really tweet anymore because fuck Elon Musk, but you know, at countless1000s. And then if you live in the state of California, you know, I don't know, SB9 is a good, you know, let's get some more housing.
Oh,
I don't know.
Okay.
Submit your cases to HCD if you compliance review at hcd.ca.gov if you've got problems with the local policies and whatnot.
All right.
I could go on.
Enthusiastic plug. Patreon.com/unpops, unpopsnetwork.supercast.tech. You can also, we put up video clips on YouTube at Unpops. So you can follow us there and see me rub my eye during the part where I'm talking. So I'm definitely going to be on camera because that's how Zoom works. And I think that's it. Let's get out of here. Elise, say goodbye.
Bye.
Danger, say goodbye.
Bye, everybody. We love you.
Goodbye, everybody. We love you. That's usually how I end the podcast.
I love them too.
Bring a blood object to Bristol Street. Bring a blood object to Bristol Street.